Hi, it's Trish O'Shaughnessy with Peoria Public Schools Foundation. I'm here tonight with Buzz Chats, and I have with me Tom Hayes, who's the IB coordinator for the district, and Sarah Chapman, who works at Woodruff Career Technical Center with students in getting them placed in internships and developing their career paths. But first, a little bit about the foundation. Peoria Public Schools Foundation works alongside the district to make sure we have resources for all of our students. We just wanted to have a buzz chat tonight to let our families understand maybe some of the options that they have moving into high school for your students. I know these are options that are available for students across the district if it's the right path for them. Getting started, why don't we have Sarah, could you just introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about what you guys do at Woodruff? And then after that, maybe Tom, you can talk about yourself a little and a little bit about the IB program.
Sure.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Chapman. I'm a career coordinator and a grant manager for Woodruff Career and Tech Center, like Trish said. So, we are more or less the vocational school for District 150. We work with high school students who might be on a different path after they graduate high school, may not know exactly what they want to do, where they want to go, but they know that they want to do something hands on. They want to use their technical skills and maybe go into an apprenticeship or straight into a trade after high school. So we have 16 different career and tech ed programs that they can come over as juniors and seniors, get some hands-on learning in the classroom, and then that turns eventually into hopefully an internship or a job shadowing opportunity that will connect them with a local employer once they graduate. So just a different option for our high school students.
Yeah, I love that option. And Tom, could you introduce the IB program for us a little?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Tom Hayes. It's my 23rd year in the district, and my first year as IB coordinator. And I worked at Woodruff for 11 years prior. So I love that building. Um, yeah, the IB program has been around at Richwoods. I think this is the 23rd year, as a matter of fact. And it's been around since 1959. It's a global school. It's in 159 different countries, and we're pretty rare as the only IB school south of Chicago. So we have a big state in Illinois, and we're the only one south of Chicago. There are a handful up in the Chicago area. There's one in Rockford, but we're very unique. And what makes us unique? We are a I'll try to say this concisely as possible. It's kind of a complex program, but it's very challenging academic program that has a heavy emphasis on reading, writing, and critical thinking skills. And those type of things are embedded in the curriculum, community service, service amongst your school, activity in the community. All these things are part of the curriculum that is very academic challenging. So, in I think it's pretty well established that there really is no higher high school curriculum than the IB program. There are AP courses which are very high, and all of our IB students have to take AP courses as well, just to be prepared. But the IB program starts your junior and senior year, and it's all of the classes are college level. You can get college credit for all of them, and it's just it's a very holistic program. The courses feed off one another. There's a mindset, a global mindset, if you will, and it's just it's a really amazing experience. I was an IB teacher for 11 years before I got before I applied for this coordinator position, and I was just really impressed with the type of education. It's much more, I think, traditional education. As a textbook, you go from one chapter to the next, and it's very linear. When I taught IB history, we didn't even have a textbook. It was much more outside sources, reading books, researching, and writing. So it's very unique and special, and ultimately, I would say, very, very fulfilling experience. Challenging, no doubt. It's not for everybody, but but I think an amazing program.
Yeah. Well, I have to preface, the IB program is one that my son went through, and I know for him it was an incredibly good fit. One thing when you were talking that makes me think, IB with its critical thinking and deep dive and kind of non-traditional structure is in a lot of ways very similar to what's being done at Woodruff, where students will have a deep dive into their career pathways, kind of a non-traditional structure, and really work critically and hands-on in becoming proficient and excel in the pathway they're going into. So I love about these two programs, maybe for different types of learners, different types of students, but they both offer an alternative educational path for the right student. I think they're amazing things that the district is doing with these types of programs. Sarah, looking kind of at Woodruff, could you give us a little highlight of the types of career pathways that Woodruff has for the students, and a little bit, what student would qualify or be eligible if they're from around the district, or they're focused on some certain parts of the district, or kind of what is Woodruff all about? I hear all the time, oh, I wish we used Woodruff, and I'm like, I know hundreds of kids that go to Woodruff, so kind of give us a little background on what Woodruff does.
Sure, sure. So Woodruff used to be a traditional high school, but we closed in 2011, and then reopened a year later as the Career and Tech Ed Center. We've had a few other programs morphed and weaved into the building as well throughout the years, but we really want to rebrand ourselves as that way to jumpstart your career, a way for a student to do some career exploration and just try. I mean, just try a skill that maybe you're interested in, passionate about, could see yourself doing. We have anything from working on cars in an auto body program to braiding hair. We have 16 different career and tech ed programs that translate into an industry. So I can list them for you. In the beauty industry, we have barbering, cosmetology, hair braiding, and a new one this year is nail technology. So if any students are interested in getting into that cosmetology, beauty, hair, nails, we actually have a program where they can come and get their hours towards sitting for their state license and becoming a licensed cosmetologist or barber by the time they graduate high
That's
school,
amazing.
which is
That's
a huge
great.
leg up to them. Yeah, really
Yeah.
the purpose of the programs at Woodruff is to give them the experience, the credentials, the internship opportunities that will translate into giving them a leg up as they're going out into the real world after high school and applying for jobs, so that hopefully they would have a better chance at getting a rewarding living wage type of career. But many of our programs do also translate into going to college. I think sometimes people think of Woodruff as an alternative to college, but it can actually be a bonus to a student who's going on to college. We have a very robust health occupations program where students can become certified as a CNA upon their graduation. So again, at 18 years old, they already have a leg up into going into the medical or health field, health world. Starting with your CNA, they can then go on to OSF or Methodist College, earn their LPN, go on to get their RN or BSN. It just saves them time, money, and gets them quicker on that path. We also have a graphics communication, we have an IT coding, we have office occupations. So all of those more office related careers or working with computers. As far as hands-on, we have construction industry, we have our collision tech and auto body program, we have horticulture and landscape design. We also have a new one this year, renewable energy. So all over the place as far as hands-on. But I would say I think Woodruff is probably most well known for our culinary program. We have
It is excellent.
Yes, we have an incredible program. It's usually one of our more popular ones. I think sometimes the kids want to come over just because they're interested in cooking and eating and trying new things,
I
something
plan to hit
different.
up the culinary program when I'm over there too.
Yes, I have to say I enjoy partaking from time to time as well because they're always making some incredible creation that I could never make. But our culinary program actually does state and national competitions. We have a full service kitchen because we're not a traditional high school anymore, so we use our entire cafeteria as a learning environment and a hands-on lab for our students to learn at a very high level how to go into culinary or restaurant management, hospitality, events, catering. Before COVID, and we hope to reinstate it here in the next school year. We actually opened up a cafe to the Peoria area. It's called the Warrior Way Cafe, and our students put on everything from start to finish. So they learn how to take reservations, orders, seat people. It's not a buffet; it's actually a plated meal, and they're making everything from scratch. So
it's really good. I would tell people it's the best meal in town, and I've gone many times on business meetings, and it's a really great place. So that kind of leads, you say it's not a traditional high school, so would students then, are they at their traditional Manual, Peoria High, and Richwoods and then come over, or how does that work for parents to understand?
yes, let me explain that. So career exploration for our district, for Peoria Public Schools, really starts in 8th grade with that online program, Zello. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar, but it is a way for students to take different assessments and inventories, kind of combining their interests and their skills and their passion to see what might I want to be when I grow up. So they start high school off with maybe already doing a little bit of that. But freshman and sophomore year, they have to take a lot of required courses. But starting their junior year, where they have maybe completed their credits for the basic math, English, and science, now they have options because they have elective credits that they can take. And we are encouraging kids to try Woodruff. Take your 9 elective credits, come over and try a trade, do some hands-on learning with us, see what you're good at, see what you're passionate about. So sophomore year is where we really try to recruit students to come over. This year we have about 250 students. We'd like to double that, and we can serve up to 500 kids. So just encourage parents and students to give Woodruff a try. If you're a sophomore or a junior, you can sign up to take your elective credits at Woodruff your junior and senior year of high school.
And there is transportation from their home school over to Woodruff, correct?
Yes. So they're still enrolling as a student at either Richwoods, Peoria High, or Manual. But then those elective credits would take up 3 class periods. So honestly, it's like half a day. So they get to actually spend 2 hours over at Woodruff. They're bused from their home base, their high school, over to us, either first through third hour or 5th through 7th. So they get to spend half a day at their home high school and half a day at Woodruff.
Great. So Tom, kind of pivoting to IB and the structure of that program, I kind of remember that there was a big push to go into a pre-IB program starting your 8th grade year. So could you kind of explain the process of applying for IB, and if you need to be in the pre-IB program to go into IB, and kind of what you're looking for with that, and then sort of the types of offering that I know you talked about a little bit about what IB does, but the types of courses and stuff that IB presents.
Sure. First, I want to kind of mention something when Sarah was talking.
Yeah.
I've had a few students who wanted to do both Woodruff and IB, and that's a really good question. So I just wanted to address that
and
if
that's a
anybody's
question I
interested.
hear all the time.
You can't do it, unfortunately, because of the drive time. Sarah mentioned it. It takes really about 3 hours out of your day, and it's just not possible, unfortunately. So because I know some people were probably thinking that, because I've been asked it and you've heard it. So it's just the transportation doesn't work out. But I do know a lot of students who have done it and really enjoyed Woodruff. So actually you apply going into freshman year, not your 8th grade year. So I mean, you are an 8th grader applying to be a pre-IB freshman. Yeah.
And what kind of time of the year does that happen?
November 19th was our deadline this year. So
okay, so it's first semester.
It's early, and what we do is we go to all the middle schools. We drop off applications. I bring IB students, usually the ones that went to that middle school, but not always, and we go talk to the 8th graders. So all the eighth grade schools have applications. They've heard about the program. And then we also go to some other schools as well. We go to Christ Lutheran, Peoria Academy, Concordia. Um, yeah, and we just try to, make it available to
Right.
everybody to apply. There is, as I said, it's challenging for sure. But I think, the number one quality we're looking for is someone who is serious about their education.
Right.
Um, and we do look at test scores, we look at grades, we look at teacher recommendations. Those are all, they all factor into it. But, um, a lot of times, if the test scores are not in the 95th percentile or something very high up there, and the teacher recommendations are great, and the grades are all straight A's,
Right.
and the student, there's also an interview process, and the student, we found as an IB teacher the past 10 or 11 years that you don't need to be in the 95th percentile or above to succeed in the IB program. In fact, we've had some very, very high test scores, of kids who just are not very organized or not very motivated, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not a good fit either. So there is a baseline. We're usually looking somewhere, test scores, just so it's a good fit academically,
Right.
and there's that natural aptitude there, of somewhere above the 80th percentile. That's just a ballpark figure, and then we try to factor everything else in
Sure.
there. But really, we're looking for motivation and organization, and it's kind of hard to gauge that. So, kind of segue into your point,
Right.
as pre-IB freshmen and sophomores, we give them a very challenging schedule. And it's all enriched courses. They have to take an AP course, and you have to maintain a B average. Because what we have found very clearly is if you're not able to maintain a B average your freshman and sophomore year, um, it's going to be very, very difficult your junior and senior year. If you
Right.
are, it's usually a nice transition because, as most parents know, grades are mostly the result of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if you're willing to put in the effort and the time and as I said, take it seriously, that's kind of what the pre-IB track is for. It's to say, is this right for you? So
So, if you were a student who, say, was excelling as a freshman and sophomore, would you be able to transfer in to the IB program as a junior, or is it something you need to kind of decide upon to apply for when you're in eighth grade to get
uh,
in for your freshman
that's a
year?
great question. Yep, a great question. Yes, and we have had several students do that this year. And again, the first thing we look at are the grades. And
Right.
so there were a couple students who uh, were really good fits. Great teacher recommendations, grades, and then the test scores were kind of last. And we looked at those. Oh, okay, yeah, that looks like it's going to be a good fit.
Right.
And others who unfortunately were not accepted in the program because of the grades. Like if you can't maintain this
Right.
with your freshman sophomore, it only gets harder. I mean, as I said before, um, I don't want to sound too it's as high as it gets. There's nothing higher. These courses are very demanding and challenging, and I'd hate to scare anybody away by saying that. Um, I'm when I say challenging, I mean it in a great way. It's
Right.
not that homework is something that we work very hard to not give a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
When I say challenging, I don't like, for example, my son is coming into the program this year, and the last thing I want my own son to do is have 3 hours of homework a night. I want my student to be well-rounded, play extracurricular activities,
Right.
be in different clubs, have a social life, all of those things. And so we've worked really hard over the past 10 years to make IB a program that is not something that buries you in homework, but rather challenges you in a different way. As to where, like,
And
a lot of the tests are
mm-hmm.
like multiple choice type tests in a traditional setting.
Right.
Most of ours are writing, and so when I say challenging, I mean we're challenging you to really articulate your thoughts on paper, verbally, and and to look at things from different perspectives. So.
Yeah, as I said, my son went through the program. He's a 2020 grad of the IB program, and I found that to be true for him. that it was a program that he was the perfect student for a deep dive. So he really liked that deep dive into a subject. I think he enjoyed the discussion and kind of the sharing of ideas that IB program lends itself towards.
Hmm.
And so that was a good fit for that type of student and his learning style.
Yeah, and I mean it translates into any class. Like I didn't just teach IB history. I
Right.
would use I would use what I learned from IB history and teach that in my regular classes. Like,
Hmm.
um, like we talked about the atomic bomb. Like, for example, to what extent was the atomic bomb necessary in World War II? And we spent a lot of time researching all the historians and primary resources and secondary resources, and then we had this big debate and discussion. And you can do that in any class. Um, but we weren't constrained by, oh, we have to get to the next chapter. We have to
Right.
we just had three main topics that we covered very much in depth and worked on writing and all these other skills. So it's just very different. And you had another question about what kind of classes we offer.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's I just remember from Alex that IB had some pretty structured classes that they recommended, and there wasn't as much flexibility for electives, which for also for him was it worked out fine because they were things he was inherently interested in. But what are the types of classes?
Yeah, well, it is basically the same thing everybody's taken. You have English, history, math, science. You're going to be taking those. Foreign languages required. So,
Hmm.
back to your other point, if you're going to try to get into the IB program your junior year and you did not take a foreign language,
Hmm.
that's a problem. But
Right.
most people are doing that anyway, but some aren't, and that could be a problem. So you have to take foreign language. We have a philosophy class called Theory of Knowledge, which is required your junior year. We also offer anthropology,
Okay.
um, physics, chemistry, film. We have an IB film class, which is really cool. Art, music. I mean, we have all the subjects and then some.
Hmm.
Some courses that are just unique to IB, but the kids have a lot of flexibility for electives. I mean, sometimes they have to take certain classes, but there's more than enough space to take other courses if
Right.
they'd like to. Yeah.
And I think we should mention, and I'm not sure we did, IB is housed at Richwoods. So if you are um, going to the IB program, then you will be attending Richwoods High School, correct?
Correct. Yes. Sorry, we kind of skipped over that
Yeah.
part. Yes, it is. It is just at Richwoods, and so we get students from all over. We actually have students from all over Peoria Public Schools, but we've had students from Dunlap, Washington, Pekin, East Peoria, kind of all over. Brimfield. Yeah.
If you're in Peoria Public Schools and you go into the IB program, do you have to find your own transportation to Richwoods, or are you is there transportation built in for that?
Transportation's built in.
That's great. That's great.
Yep, it is. It's
Um,
a very nice
and then you can
component.
be a part of the Richwoods teams and all and kind of
Oh,
talk about.
you're a Richwood student.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like if you have our fine arts at Peoria High, or it's its own
You're
little
that.
academy program. Yep, you're a Richwood
And so,
student.
Sarah, kind of talking about what Tom was talking about, you're a Richwood student if you're in the IB program. The students that are at Woodruff, do they have time and flexibility then to participate in sports at their home schools or clubs or activities? Is that something or is it too demanding or not demanding? Does the time work out that they can be kind of participating in their homeschool activities as well?
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. Because they're going to be going to their homeschool full time freshman and sophomore year. So it's only a 2 year commitment to come to Woodruff. Some of our programs are actually even only a 1 year commitment. But yeah, the transportation is provided. So they'll be coming from their home high school to Woodruff, either in the morning or afternoon. And then we also bus them back. So
Okay.
if they are involved in any after school activities, when school's out, we bus them back to their home school so they can participate in sports or clubs or whatever they want to be involved in at their home school. Hmm. Yeah, just think of it as like an addition
Right.
to their high school
Their
diploma.
little annex.
Yeah, yeah, it's like it's. I mean, we don't give them a duplicate diploma, but when they come to Woodruff, they will earn some sort of
Right.
industry recognized credential, certificate, or license. that's a bonus to their high school diploma.
Yeah, both programs are just so strong, and really, depending on the type of student that a person is, or the goals that they have set for themselves moving forward out of high school, could be a really great option. All right, so we have
Yeah.
about 4 minutes left, and while we're kind of wrapping up, I'm wondering if you could share with students and parents, kind of what students, before they're ready or the age to go into the program, what are some things that they should think about in middle school, freshman, sophomore year in high school, so that they would be qualified and be eligible for these types of programs? So like Sarah, if we start with you, what are some things that students their freshman and sophomore year should be working on so that they can make sure that they are able to take these classes, or can get into these courses?
Yeah, I will say a lot of our programs, we do, like Tom mentioned, we do look heavily at grades, we do look at attendance, we do look at behavior. Some of our courses to get in are a little bit more difficult and more of an application process than others, but I would say that we are getting more towards that route of we want you to be a B average student, like Tom said, minimum C average.
Right.
Also, when you get to senior year, to be eligible for an internship, which is the career center portion that I coordinate, the students do have to have good attendance at Woodruff and at their home high school.
Right.
They have to maintain a C average to be able to get the internship. It's all an extension to classroom learning. It's not a replacement. We have a lot of kids that think, oh, you're just going to give me a job and then I don't have to go to school anymore. It's like, no, this is not.
Right.
This is not to replace your education. You have to stay on track to graduate. If you don't, you will be removed from the internship, so it's something to definitely take serious your freshman and sophomore year as far as focusing on your grades and your attendance and your behavior, because we do look at teacher and counselor recommendations when accepting students at Woodruff.
Yeah, I knew a lot of those Woodruff programs could get very competitive to be admitted to, and that speaking with students I had worked with, and as they were moving through their high school career, the emphasis that they placed on making sure they were on track as freshmen and sophomores so that they were eligible to apply and go into those Woodruff programming and not doing credit recoveries or having to work on things like that.
Right. Yeah, you definitely want to stay on track. And, with 16 programs, that's only 16 teachers. And so we only have a certain amount of spots of kids that we can take. Of course, we'd love to reach everybody at Peoria Public Schools, but, I believe it is pretty selective. Yeah.
So Tom, moving into the IB program, say you're a middle school student, a 7th or 8th grader, what types of preps would a student look at, or parents look at for their students to get them ready to apply for the IB program? And I have another question too after you talk about that. I don't want to forget about
Sure.
the IB numbers and selecting.
Well, I would say, time management and organizational skills are key. I mean, they are just key. And we find that, a lot of the high achieving students in grade school who are used to just kind of skating by, they hit a wall when they have to be organized. So like I said, test scores are great. They're fine. But the most important thing, and I think this translates into life as well, no matter what field you're in, is having organizational skills and being able to manage your time. So again, that's kind of built into the curriculum. Like we're about to do an assignment. It's going to take 6 months.
Right.
It's not, here's the assignment, it's due next week. It's a 6-month long project. We have to meet certain benchmarks. And, so we do teach these skills, but anything you could do beforehand would be great. And we're doing that with our own children. We're trying.
Right.
It's sometimes easier said than done. Also, real quick, Sarah mentioned something about a diploma. I did want to just clarify what the kids work towards is the IB diploma. If you achieve the IB diploma, which is done through a series of exams at the end of their junior and senior year, you can get 1 free year of college. Wow. So that is huge. Like an AP class, you can get 3. If you pass the test at the end of the year, you can get 3 college hours. IB, many schools offer their first year free. So that's 30 credit hours. Some schools offer 45. The diploma's not easy to get, So schools are recognizing that this student has really worked hard. This is the kind of student we want. And that's our ultimate goal, is to try to earn the IB diploma, which could get you your first year free.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So my
Which
other
is
question,
obviously a big
oh,
bonus.
huge, right? And I will say, looking at schools with my own personal son, there's a lot that a lot of schools will give for IB.
Oh yeah.
They really recognize the IB
Well,
classes and
and I was going to say, I'm finding this out my first year. I've had to call several college admissions departments because my students ask me questions, and I kind of know it from being a teacher, but I'm like, well,
sure,
let me make sure. So, like Northwestern in particular, I have a student who just got accepted to
right,
Northwestern, and they were curious about putting their SAT score on their college admissions and application. And so I called them and I said, what is the advantage or disadvantage? Like,
right,
should we put our SAT? And many schools are actually going away from that
right,
these days. And the admissions officer said the number one thing that we look at are the type of courses that the high school students are taking.
right.
And that's it. So even if these students are getting B's in IB courses, that's okay. That's more
Right,
important than getting A's with no challenging courses.
right.
So I found that to be very enlightening and
It
encouraging
is.
to our students. And like you said, even if you don't earn the diploma, just the fact of taking these courses is getting a lot of students into these high
It is.
achieving
It
schools
is.
because they recognize it. Yeah.
It's very well respected. Okay, so I have a final question
Yes.
about IB. Do you have a certain number of students you're admitting, or is it more like we're admitting the number of students that we think will be successful in the program?
Great question. That has always been in
It's
flux.
always, everybody
It, it,
wonders.
it really is. No, there's not a hard cap on it
Yeah,
because I think, when I first got to Richwoods, there was, I think, 8 or 9 seniors in the IB program,
right,
and we have about 50 now. So
right,
the program has grown a lot. And I think we usually start out with around 90 or so,
sure,
sometimes 100 freshmen, and it usually gets down to right around 50 or 60. It depends. It
sure.
depends. But yeah, and a lot of people drop out. I will say this. I was happy to, this year, we had 70 juniors and we lost two. Two
Oh,
opted after one year. We lose most of our students from sophomore year to
right,
junior year. They've never tried the program.
right,
They've never been in the IB program. They're like, I don't want to do it anymore. And so I'm always like, well, just try it, give it your
sure.
junior year. And so this year, out of 70 students, we kept 68. And
That's great.
because yeah, it's really a great program. I think some students get scared away.
I do too.
It might be too hard for me. And like I said in the very beginning, if you're not willing to be challenged, then it's not right for you. It's just not going to be a good fit because it's not easy. You're not just going to sit there and you know
Right,
skate by. So yeah. So to answer your question, there is no hard cap. No,
right,
we try to take a variety of factors, and all we want is it to be a good fit. And it's sometimes hard to know that, so we tend to cast a pretty wide net early on, and then things seem to shake out pretty well
sure.
towards the end, junior and
How,
senior year.
how about you, Sarah? Does that what you find that students are fairly successful? I see that when I work with students that have gone through Woodruff, but that they're fairly successful once they get there and really put their mind to it, that they can get some great career opportunities out of this.
Yeah, I would say definitely by second semester, junior year. We've actually talked recently about even seeing if we could start Woodruff sooner. I'm not sure if that will come about, but just
Sure,
to give students a chance to try it as sophomores so that by the time they're a junior, they're really serious about it and they're ready to start their track for their hours towards a license, towards an internship, and getting them even closer to that capstone experience senior year where they're able to go out and start working almost like a co-op. So
that's
yeah,
great.
we definitely have good retention once we get the kids at least a semester in.
That's excellent. Well, really, I'm just, every time I hear about all these amazing things that Peoria Public Schools offers for their families, I just am so thrilled. Two really strong, wonderful options for our high school students, depending upon what their goals are and what they're looking to shape their high school career to be like. I really want to thank Tom and Sarah for being with us tonight on Buzz Chats and chatting a little bit about the IB program over at Richwoods, which, as he mentioned, students will first semester, kind of the end of first semester, be applying to in 8th grade to get into a pre-IB program. And to Sarah over at Woodruff Career and Technical Center, where students, their sophomore years, may look at scheduling in to go into Woodruff and some of their career options. Any final words before we close out, or?
I think we hit a lot of good points, but I'll just echo what you said. I mean, the options are great, and what may be good for Sarah is not necessarily good for me, and vice versa. But I think what I was picking up from a lot of that is you can come out with a skill, whether it's writing, auto body, hair, nails, debate. I mean, there's just skills to be had that are, I would say, non-traditional that other school districts don't really offer. So it's a nice variety. It's a nice.
Yeah, it really, the district does you guys all as professionals and really work to meet the students where they are and kind of help them get the skills to fulfill their dreams look like, what their goals look like. So thank you guys.
I was going to say too, like, this is probably a whole nother talk, another buzz chat, but to talk about the student success after they graduate.
Oh,
This is only my 4th year in the district, but I have just felt so fulfilled with the type of jobs that our students getting, about the apprenticeships that they're going into in the local union halls, about going on to college, and it's so great to see them come back and talk about where they're at and what they're doing. And so these programs work, and they do give students great, bright futures.
Yeah. And I know, Tom, you guys have had a lot of student success as well. And
yeah, Sarah, really, that's a perfect way to end it. One of the reasons that we feel so validated is because our students come back, and what they say time and time again, college was so easy. Right. College is so easy, and you really feel like you're preparing them for life after high school. So
yeah, that's it. That's what whatever your student's dream is, goal is. I think that there's a pathway for them to try to prepare themselves for life after high school.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being
with us.
Thank you,
Trish.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate it. This will be streaming on our Facebook page later if you didn't get a chance to catch it all. But we appreciate everyone tuning in to Buzz Chats with Peoria Public Schools Foundation. And once again, that's Tom Hayes with his IB program and Sarah Chapman over at Woodruff Career and Technical Center. If your student has interest in either of those programs, I know they both have websites up that you can link to off of the district webpage. And we will wish you good night and chat to you next month on Buzz Chats. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.